Senator Ludlam.
Ministers, the Australian government got representatives observing the trial of Private First Class Bradley Manning in the United States?
I wouldn't think so.
We have had at his pre-trial hearings.
Yeah. Well, I might be corrected.
Senator, your question was whether the embassy has had officials at the pre-trial hearings?
No, at the actual trial. Pre-trial has concluded. The trial's underway at the moment. It started yesterday. I believe Australia has had diplomatic officials present for the pre-trial hearings. I'm just wondering who we have there at the moment.
I understand there has been a locally engaged official from our embassy that's been present at the trial.
Yep. Okay. Why is that? What's their function exactly?
As you know, Senator, the government has been following the Manning legal process for its duration, given its connection to the Wikileaks investigation that's underway in the United States. So there's been an effort on our part to try and stay abreast of developments in the Manning case.
Okay, that's extremely good to hear. An Australian government official acknowledged that there is an investigation into WikiLeaks in the United States and into Julian Assange, because that's been like pulling teeth actually getting that admission.
That's not what I said, Senator, with respect.
Go ahead.
I mean, the fact that the US attorney has made public that there is an investigation into WikiLeaks does not mean that there is an investigation or an indictment into that applies to Julian Assange.
Well, now you're misrepresenting me. I didn't say there was an indictment. We wouldn't know if there was until such a document was unsealed.
We don't know. But the US attorney's announcement was that there will be an investigation into WikiLeaks.
Yeah, okay. And their editor-in-chief would be Julian Assange. So presumably those things are connected. Could you just provide us a bit more information then about the role of that Australian official at the trial? Is he just there as an observer? What's he or she actually doing?
As an observer, correct.
As an observer, okay. Have you had any report backs thus far? I think we're into day 2 or day 3.
I have seen a report, but I haven't had time to read it yet.
Okay. Perhaps on notice then, whether you would be able to provide us with your impression of the nature of the trial so far, as in what is contained in that report.
Sorry, could you just repeat the question,
Can you
please?
provide us with an undertaking that you will let us know what's in that report, or what that official's impression of the trial is?
Well, I'll have to look at the classification of the report, but we're happy to respond to your question, of course.
Okay. Feel free to take this one, Mr Brown, or Minister, if you would rather step in and take it, as it's potentially policy area. Has the Australian government expressed a diplomatic view, that Mr Assange is entitled to protections under the First Amendment of the US Constitution for publishing activities that are entirely legitimate?
Not to my knowledge, no. It wouldn't be a matter of concern to Australia to make a case for him, no.
Okay.
Why would we do that?
I'm just going to trust that that's a rhetorical question. And thanks also, Minister, for your response to my letter, which provided several pages of citations from multiple sources, that you have acknowledged that there is a grand jury underway. Since receipt of that correspondence, which I thank you for, have we made any further representations to the US government about the status of that grand jury investigation into WikiLeaks?
No.
Okay. Is that because we're not interested in its status, or are we just expecting to be told when it concludes?
There's nothing more to say about it, and we're not going to over-service these consular cases.
Okay. Is it your knowledge, To your knowledge, is that grand jury investigation still ongoing, or has
I
it...
don't know. I can't.
You don't know?
I can't tell you. You need to address that to the American government.
Okay. And you haven't sought to find out? We're not interested to know whether it's still ongoing or not? Why is that?
Well, it doesn't affect Australian interest.
This is an Australian citizen being investigated by a US grand jury on charges that could include life imprisonment.
We've made our views clear. We have an interest in the case, but I'm not going to have resources allocated to it. There's been enough investment of DFAT resources in looking after Mr Assange's interests. This is an over-servicing of a consular case.
It wasn't really a consular-related question that I was asking. So you say we have an interest in the case, but our interest doesn't extend to wanting to know whether it's still ongoing or not.
When information emerges from the American system, it can be looked at with interest.
When we're told, but we won't do anything to find out.
Well, it's not a focus of our diplomacy. Why would it be?
Why would it be? Well, again, that's another rhetorical question. Senator Carr, Mr Dorling has reported on WikiLeaks material that discloses that you've been a source since about August 1974 for US diplomats seeking information on Australian governments and the broader trade union movement in Australia. Is that a contention that you would concur with, or do you dispute the findings?
That is entirely ridiculous.
Go ahead.
When I was in my 20s, I had lunch on, I would say, 3 occasions with the US Consul General in Sydney. Now, if you want to say that makes one a source for the US government, you've got to take account of the fact that members of Parliament in this building, on all sides of politics, routinely talk to diplomats.
I probably have from time to time too.
Yeah, and you've got to take account of the fact that Australian diplomats all around the world are seeking every opportunity to talk to members of Parliament, members of the trade union movement. Indeed, the cables I receive are full of information gleaned from such sources.
Presumably
there is nothing remarkable about it, and there's nothing sinister in it, and that report in the paper didn't imply there was.
Okay.
The comments I'm reported as having made are the sort of comments that any observer of politics would have made at the time.
Yeah, I was in my 20s.
I'm struck by how well they stood up, how sensible they were, given that I was in my 20s.
Let's not get started on that. And Senator, just to be clear, these aren't allegations that I'm raising. These have been reported in the press. I'm just noting Mr Dorling's piece. So can you describe for us then, you said to propose that you were a source or a protected source is ridiculous. So that's not the case? That you
look at what the article, based on the documentation, said I said. That the Whitlam government was behind in the polls, that in the lead up to the 72 election, the Labor Party was embarrassed by any display of union power. These were commonplace observations that anyone reading a newspaper at the time might have made. I've got to assure you that as National President of Young Labor and Education Officer of the Labor Council of New South Wales, I had access to not the remotest insensitive intelligence or strategic data.
I'm not sure that was alleged in the article either.
I think it implied it.
Thank
you very much.
Now, Senator Ludlam, you weren't here this morning to advise that the Minister and the Secretary are required to attend a national security meeting between 6 and 8 p.m. this evening. So the Minister will be represented by Senator Farrell and
by magic.
Ms Bird. So perhaps you want to continue that line of
I could
questioning?
ask Senator Farrell if he's a protected source for the United States government, but it's probably an uncomfortable
Look, I'm
segue.
happy. No, I'm very happy to answer that question. To the best of my knowledge, no, I am not.
To the best of your knowledge. I'll leave it there, Chair.
Thank you very much.
I did study. I was at Harvard University in 1984 with the current American ambassador. That was the subject of some controversial reporting in the Adelaide Advertiser on one occasion.
Oh, a